This video is brought to you by Sporlan, quality, integrity, and tradition. Well, we got a call that the kitchen AC is not working. It's 87 in here when it's set for 70, so let's get on the roof and see what we can figure out. My AC is right here, AC number 1. I'm just doing a walk around on the unit. Nothing is running at the moment. So let's open up and have a look at the circuit board. What do you want to bet? It's off on high pressure. It's been a while since we've changed these fan motors. Let's see. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 4. 1, 2, 3, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. So error code 4 and 3, and if you go down here, high pressure lockout, high pressure lockout. So if we go ahead and reset it, I think you do reset, and wait for the time delay. I think this guy should start up. One of these days I'll actually read the instructions on how to reset that board. Instead, I just turn the power off. So we're gonna let it start up and see what happens. I'm gonna predict that we're gonna have a bad condenser fan motor. This restaurant goes through them quite often, so wait for this guy to start up and see what happens. Don't see anything funky there. Don't see anything funky there. I mean, everything looks okay. Condensers, not horrible. I can see light through it, but it's a little dirty. We'll definitely be rinsing some stuff off while we're up here today too. So we're just waiting for this guy to start up. All right, I reset it, and I ended up throwing some jumpers on there, and I got my error code back again. So I had to think about this for a second, and then I thought of an idea. Maybe this unit has manual reset high pressure controls, and it does right here. We've got a manual reset. That's not factory, that's aftermarket. I think I put that on, to be honest with you. All right, it's reset now, but we're gonna have to reset the unit again because it went off on error. So let's power it down, then power back on, and we'll have to wait for the delay. Let's give it a second. I think. There we go. Come on over here. And only one condenser fan motor is running. So we'll have to open this up and see if it has voltage going to the fan motor. I went ahead and turned it off, and power's isolated. I'm trying to spin the motor with my hand right now, and it's locked up. So condenser fan motor is completely locked up. I'm gonna go ahead and get the side of the unit taken off, and we'll see what we gotta do to get that motor out and get a replacement for it. I went ahead and took the side off the unit to make my life easier. I carry a lot of the tools that I use every day, so I have 2 half-inch wrenches. One of them is actually broken, but it still serves as an opened end wrench. Pulled the blade off. Gonna change this guy. We got a OEM motor, so we're gonna go ahead and replace that. I've got a motor, fan blade, and capacitor. So we're gonna swap that out. Then we're gonna get water hoses up here, clean the condenser, clean all the condensers. It's pushing over 100 degrees out here, so we gotta make sure these things are 100%. Using the OEM motor gives you the ability to take advantage of their plug setup that they have here, where it's just a Molex thing that plugs in. But I highly suggest whenever you have these Molex plugs, York does this and Lennox does this with these little Molex guys, you put a zip tie around them. So this one I ran a zip tie through it just to make sure it doesn't vibrate out. And then we're gonna put the condenser fan motor on. We tied up the ground so that way it's not gonna hit anything. So looking good so far. When tightening the set screws on these motors, you wanna make sure if your motor has 2 flats, the shaft, you want a set screw going to each flat. Preferably you don't want a set screw going to the round of the shaft. Now sometimes you have to, but the flat, you're able to drive the set screw in, and I highly suggest that you run it in. So you tighten it, you loosen it, you tighten it, you loosen it. Keep doing it. Every time you're running a groove into the flat, so that way it's nice and good. Okay, if you do that on the rounds, it is okay, because sometimes you have to, but you have to understand that when there's a groove on the round, it's going to be harder and harder to get the motor and the blade off. So if you ever have one where there's a groove on the round and it's difficult, what you do is you lube it up with like a penetrating oil. Then you, if you can, you push the blade down to where you can access and sand really good, then pull the blade up off of it, if possible. So we're gonna start assembling this, and then we gotta figure out a way to identify which capacitor is which. I ended up changing both capacitors. This was the one for the motor that I replaced, and then this one was for the other motor, but it was actually out of spec. It was right below, it was plus or minus, or it was a minus 5%, and we were at like 6%. So went ahead and changed both capacitors. So at this point, I think I could turn it on and hope that nothing blows up. Wait for the time delay to kick over. Now both of these motors are allowed to run 2.8 amps. So on one of them I'm running 2.6, and on the other I'm running 2.6. So we're good on both motors. Now something else that I noticed is that now that I got both motors running, right, and they're both moving air like they should be, we still gotta clean the condenser, but this compressor's not turning on, compressor 1, and come up here, that's still a high pressure cutout. So we need to test this high pressure control right here to see if it's open. Shouldn't be. So never just stop at the first problem. Yeah, condenser fan motor bad, but this high pressure control is bad because it's open and the system's been off. This line's not hot. There's no reason for that pressure control to be open. So we're gonna have to probably convert it like I did that one. I'll have to go to my van. I think I might have a 410A high pressure cutout control. I have absolutely no idea if there's a Schrader under here. Just don't know. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna do what we did on that one. We're gonna put a service tee. I've got a service tee right here with a Schrader depressor. We're gonna put the high pressure control on one side and a Schrader on the other side. And then that way we can still access the discharge line for system pressures. So you gotta assemble it, put the Schrader in, and then you twist this one on last, because when you twist it on, it's gonna depress the Schrader. It's not really something I can catch on film, but it's really not that big of a deal. Just have all your tools ready. It's gotta be damn near 100 up here. My phone is overheating. I literally went and set it in the mixed air cabinet right there for 10 minutes while I was putting this high pressure control on. So we got the high pressure control installed. It's a manual reset. We've got a Schrader right here to be able to access the discharge line. Connected it right there. So now we're good. We're gonna go ahead and probe up on this. And actually what I'm gonna do is I'm actually gonna turn it on and I'm gonna let it run for a little bit. Let it cool down the kitchen. I'm gonna start washing the other condensers for the units that they didn't have a problem with. I'll let this one cool down the kitchen, then we'll wash this one, then we'll probe up and check the rest of it to make sure everything's good. You know what's crazy is I just replaced a compressor on this like a week ago, and I thoroughly cleaned the condenser and it's already plugged up again. It's just nuts how dusty and windy it is out here. So we'll make sure we wash all the refrigeration while we're up here. All right, I rinsed off all the other condensers, hit them with cleaner. This one right here is the last one. It's not horrible, but it's dirty. So we're gonna give it a quick clean, but we're just gonna clean it from the outside in. These micro channels are pretty easy. We need to shut off the power. And we're gonna be using Refrigeration Technologies Yellow Venom Pack, okay? This Yellow Venom Pack right here is a micro channel aluminum safe condenser coil cleaner, but it's concentrated, so you have to mix it properly. Using their foam gun is ideal because it has the proper dilution ratios as opposed to other foam guns. So other foam guns will dispense the cleaner, but they use it too fast. This one is actually optimized and set up so that way it uses the appropriate amount of cleaner. So all that we're gonna do is spray the cleaner on the condensing coil, let it sit for about 5 to 10 minutes, and then go ahead and give it a rinse. So this has been sitting for a bit, so it's time to go ahead and give it a rinse. Now we wanna be careful because we don't wanna soak the motors, and the water will go through a micro channel very easily. So kind of go at a downward angle. Now this one wasn't too dirty, but in a perfect world, you clean it from the inside out. So this one wasn't too bad, but you can clearly see the water's nice and brown, gray coming out. So we're gonna give this guy a full rinse, both sides, and then we'll dry off the condenser. Always wanna go ahead and rinse all the stuff you washed off away from the AC, so that way it doesn't dry out and then just get sucked right back up on the condenser. So this particular location, I know my roof really well. They have a massive water leak over in the corner, but there's not really much I can do. So every time I come here, they're like, it's leaking water. And I'm like, call the roofer. Like every time I tell them, but anyways, it's gotta be washed, right? There's nothing else I can do. So we're gonna do that, and then we're gonna get the air blower and we're gonna dry off the condenser. So these micro channels, they're notorious for holding water. And in weird circumstances, I've seen situations where we can trip the high head pressure control, especially out here when it's like 115, 120, and these things are saturated. It's weird. What I'm talking about. That whole, like, every time it rains, it's just sitting here raining down. They're lucky this whole ceiling doesn't fall. It's all just dripping down. Nice. All right, this unit is really polishing a turd. It's not gonna be, I don't think, any much better than this. So circuit 2, we're running about 16 to 18 degrees of subcooling. Not really gonna play with it too much. It's kind of bouncing around. Circuit 1, give it a second, about 14 degrees subcooling. As far as the superheat is, you know, throttling, moving back and forth as the TXVs are running. Go to circuit 2. Airflow's kind of on point, 3000 CFMs. Temp split's a little bit low. It's right there. Again, I don't think it's going to get much better than this. Everything's kind of here. Units are really beat down, so yeah, that's pretty much all this unit's gonna get. I mean, it's doing everything it can. It's running its little heart away. They're gonna be extremely happy now that we changed the condenser fan motor, put a new high pressure control. Oftentimes, like, the reason why I'm not freaking out about the measurements really is because it's really about where you're putting your probes. And I guarantee right in here where my return air probe is, it's probably a little, you know, it could be moved. So let's try it. Let's see if it makes my airflow better. So if we move this down and put it more in the airflow there, and then move this back, let's see what that does for the actual air. So yeah, I moved that air probe again. We've got a 25 degree TD now, and my target is 26, so we're right on the money. It's just about checking where your probes are, really. So subcooling, that's what I expect. Again, it's using discharge pressure, so it's going to be on the high side. 11 degrees superheat. Let's go to the first stage. Looks like the superheat's kind of floating around. Subcooling's about 16 degrees. Yeah, we're doing good. This guy's doing everything that it can. You can't just assume because the app tells you this, you know, you need to look at the probe. So I go over here to the toolbox, and you know, you can compare side by side. So low pressures are pretty darn close. High pressures are on point. Suction line temps, liquid line temps are all within like a couple degrees of each other. So everything's doing everything it can. 105 degrees outside, it's nice and warm. Static pressure's through the roof. These units just run horrible static, so yeah, that's it. This guy's doing everything that it can. We're going to get all my tools, get off the roof, because like I said, it's 105 out here and I don't want to be out here any longer, and I'm hungry for lunch. So you know the crazy thing, this footage I found, I was like going through my hard drive, right, and this is from last year. Yeah, this is from May of last year of 2022. I must have forgot about it, but I mean, everything holds up. I was watching it and it's like, wow. It's kind of funny when I go back and I look at old footage and I'm like, oh wow, you know, my thought process really hasn't changed much. It's still the same thought process that I go through. So obviously we had an AC not working, office AC, and I found that the unit had a bad condenser fan motor. But not only did it have a bad condenser fan motor, it had a bad high pressure switch. It was an auto reset, and it wouldn't reset. So, but something important to understand is that auto reset pressure controls, they have to get to a certain differential before they reset, right? So it goes up to 600 PSI and then it opens, right? And then it has to drop, a ridiculous amount before it'll actually reset. So that's why I mentioned in the video that, this thing hasn't been running. There's no reason why it shouldn't have reset. Clearly something was going on inside there. And as I was editing the footage, I realized that when I first reset it and got the unit to start up and found the bad condenser fan motor, it was still giving me the flash code. I just didn't catch it. My camera caught it, but I just didn't see it with my eyes, that it was still tripped. So obviously once I replaced the condenser fan motor, that caused the problem more than likely. Then I turned it back on and I was like, hey, this compressor's still not running. And yeah, it was still tripped, the other pressure control. Now, another thing too, the compressors, they sound ridiculously bad, right? But notice as they ran longer, they kind of calmed down and quieted down. Those are older Bristol compressors. First off, they're notorious for being really loud compressors, but they're still running. I mean, that AC, again, this is from last year. That AC is still in play. No compressors have been changed or anything. I mean, they're just loud and noisy ones, right? That particular customer is actually changing 2 of their ACs, but not this one. I gave them a quote to replace 2 units, and they said they found someone else cheaper. So, all right, whatever. I'll be honest with you, I'm not too upset. But that was for 2 other units at the location. That there wasn't any video footage on those. But regardless, you never just stop at the first problem. Don't just change a fan motor and assume everything's going to be okay. Big picture stuff here, right? We're here to solve the problem, not just the symptom. At the same time, with the customer's permission, I went ahead and went through all their equipment, rinsed off all the condensers, because this customer doesn't do routine maintenance with me, right? They have a filter changing company that comes around every once in a blue moon, but they're not really cleaning their stuff on a regular basis. And if I didn't clean the other equipment, I guarantee you I would have been back out a week or 2 later, probably in the middle of the night, because they had ACs not working, And I don't have time to keep going back to these customers. So I'm like, hey, I'm here. You guys are 2 hours away from my shop. Is it okay if I go ahead and clean everything while I'm here? It'll push us up a little bit higher on the bill, but it'll save you guys travel fees back and all that good stuff. And of course they were like, yeah, please do it. Okay. So went ahead and took care of their other ACs, rinsed them all off, cleaned the condensers, and that unit was back up and running. And all was well. I really appreciate you making it to the end of the video as usual. It's really awesome, and it's really neat to see all the feedback that I get from everybody, right? Positive and negative. I'm always looking for ways to grow, and I genuinely do get criticism from people that helps me to grow as a technician, because I am incorrect sometimes, right? I don't always do everything by the book. I don't always have all the right answers, and I'm always looking to learn. So, if you guys have feedback, if you guys have advice for me, things that you think could help me to grow as a technician, please give it to me. You can put it in the YouTube comments. You can send me messages. You can email me, hvacrvideos@gmail.com. I'm always looking to learn to become a better technician, right? So I really appreciate all your guys' feedback. If you haven't already, please check out my website, hvacrvideos.com. We have merchandise available on there, hats, beanies, sweaters. We're coming into fall. So, beanies, sweaters, all that good stuff. I also have a merch restock coming soon. Again, that's hvacrvideos.com. A couple ways to support the channel. Going to my website and purchasing merchandise, that's a great way. The easiest way to support the channel is literally just watch the videos from beginning to end. That truly is the easiest way. But if you want to purchase any tools, go to truetech.tools.com. Find what you like. Go to checkout, and on checkout, there's a spot for an offer code, discount code, whatever you want to call it. My discount code is big picture, one word. If you use that code, you get an 8% discount on majority of the items on their website, and then I get a small commission from that. So it's a great way to help support the channel. You can also support the channel via PayPal, Patreon, YouTube channel memberships. There's links in the show notes of this video. And that's it. Again, I really appreciate y'all, and we will catch you on the next one.